Hey, housekeeper! Take care of this. As soon as I got home, Michael threw his bag at me and gave the order. Lately, I've lost the energy to fight back, so I just picked up the bag from the floor. Scattered papers and a planner were spread out. This chocolate must be his snack for when he gets a little hungry. I picked them up and put them back in the bag. But among them, there was one document that stood out. It was a divorce paper. Moreover, Michael's part was already filled in. At that moment, something inside me crumbled. Ah, I can divorce this man. With that thought, I suddenly felt lighter. And then, I immediately took out a pen from the drawer and started filling out the divorce form. My name is Linda Smith, 35 years old. I work as an administrative assistant at an IT company. Fortunately, I am blessed with good coworkers and a pleasant work environment, and I am happy that I can live without major stress. For me, who quit my first job due to stress from human relations, my current company feels very comfortable. If nothing goes wrong, I'll probably work here for a long time. I've been thinking about this more and more. But I have a problem. I can't even get a boyfriend, let alone get married. It's not that I haven't had any opportunities to meet someone. There were company drinking parties, and blind dates my friends invited me to. I've had many chances to interact with men. In fact, most of my friends are married and even have children. So why not me? Do I have some crucial problem? Every time my friends announce their marriages, I agonize to the point of getting a headache. But then, my chance came. It was at a company drinking party. As usual, I was sipping my drink when a man sat next to me. That was the man who would become my husband, Michael. Linda, right? Eh? How do you know my name? Michael, who suddenly spoke to me. We were in different departments, so we had never talked before. I knew his name and that he was older and joined the company earlier than me, but nothing more. Oh, sorry. I just started talking to you out of the blue. Seeing my surprise, Michael explained why he had started talking to me and introduced himself. Apparently, he had been concerned about me always being alone at company drinks and during breaks. I hadn't thought of myself as being alone that much, but I guess that's how it appeared to others. After that, Michael and I continued our conversation without any awkwardness, thanks in part to the alcohol. At the end of the drinking party, we exchanged contact information, thinking why not. From that day on, Michael and I started talking more at work. We couldn't talk much during work hours, but we chatted during breaks and after work. Sometimes, if we bumped into each other at the nearest station, we'd go to the office together. As we continued this routine, we naturally grew closer and started dating after going out for drinks more often. Eventually, our relationship became known at work. My peers and juniors were quite surprised, as they hadn't expected me to date Michael. Michael remained the same even after we started dating. He was always kind and cheerful. Being with him felt comfortable, and I found myself increasingly attracted to him. I thought Michael seemed happier too, and that made me feel good. About 6 months into our relationship, Michael told me something. Hey. I actually have a kid. A kid? Michael had been married before, but divorced due to personality differences. He had custody and was raising his middle school-aged child as a single father. I've been thinking. I'd like to marry you someday, Linda. I had to tell you before it's too late. Sorry for springing this on you all of a sudden. I was definitely surprised. But I was also happy that Michael was thinking about marrying me and had shared his past and his child's existence, considering our future. Thank you for telling me, I said to Michael. After that, I started meeting Michael's child more often. His name is Noah. I thought he might reject me, being a middle schooler, but Noah accepted me easily. A year later, Michael and I got married. I felt an unprecedented exhilaration and joy at being united with the person I loved. I was truly glad I hadn't turned Michael away at that drinking party. However, my happiness was short-lived. After we got married, Michael's true nature gradually became apparent. After discussing it with Michael, I quit my job. It had been a fun workplace, but I wasn't overly attached to it. I decided to make a fresh start and stay at home. That meant my activities were mostly limited to housework and shopping. Having no particular hobbies, I spent my days without much to immerse myself in. But even I found a hobby eventually. It was painting. I started with pencil drawings out of curiosity, but soon got into watercolors. Before I knew it, my room was filled with watercolor paints, palettes, and brushes. I wonder if this is when Michael started acting strangely. Or maybe it's more accurate to say he started showing his true colors. The first sign of something amiss was when Michael left laundry scattered about. "Hey, could you please put the laundry in the basket?" Sorry. Since we hadn't lived together before marriage, it wasn't surprising that some sloppiness surfaced. I'm not perfect either. In fact, I was happy that Michael, who had always seemed so proper, was showing me this side of himself. It made me feel like we were really married. But no matter how much I asked Michael to put the laundry in the basket, he never seemed to make an effort. In fact, he started saying, "I'm tired from work, you could do it, right?" But as soon as I started doing it, Michael began taking advantage of me. What about dinner? That day too, as soon as he got home, Michael demanded his meal. "I told you, didn't I? Dinner's gonna be late today because Noah's coming home late," I said. "I didn't hear that." "Are you sure you said it?" "I did say it." "No, I definitely didn't hear it." My words fell on deaf ears, and Michael became moody. Dealing with a moody Michael is tough. He would ignore me when I spoke to him, handle things roughly, and stomp around. This behavior was stressing me out. And it bothered me how he would get in a bad mood over minor things. At first, I thought, maybe he's just tired today and tolerated it, but as the days passed, it became unbearable and I started to speak up more. "Hey, didn't I tell you to stop leaving your bag around? Sometimes things fall out, and it's dangerous. If you're gonna say that, then you clean it up. I'm tired from working every day. Unlike you, a stay-at-home wife who does nothing all day." "What? What's with that tone? Anyway, if I don't bring home the bacon, there'd be no food or house for you. I thought we agreed I would quit my job." Yes. You're so annoying." Our conversation went nowhere. Am I saying something wrong? Do I really deserve to be yelled at like this? Every time I argued with Michael, I doubted my own judgment. He told me his divorce from his ex-wife was due to personality differences, but I began to suspect if that was really the case. Maybe the problem was with Michael, and his ex-wife initiated the divorce. Could I bring up divorce myself? The answer is no. I had just finally gotten married, and now, having quit my job, the idea of going back to being single and independent was daunting. And I worried about Noah. The idea of his father divorcing and remarrying must be stressful. For now, I was relieved that Michael didn't raise his voice in front of Noah. It's wrong to think he can do anything in front of me, but it's good that he behaves normally in front of Noah, a basic expectation of a parent, but still, I'm grateful. I should just endure everything. It's my fault for ending up with such a man. Eventually, that thought began to dominate my mind. About 6 months into our marriage, Michael started coming home extremely late. Although there were some overtime at his company, staying out till late night was not typical. Yet Michael would text me, "I'm gonna be late tonight." Might even be past midnight. It's good he contacts me, but what is he doing until late at night? Could he be cheating? Just after we got married? I often thought so. But without proof or certainty, I hesitated. And there was one thing that made me think maybe he wasn't cheating. It was that Michael would bring his colleagues home. Moreover, they were a man and a woman. Their names are apparently Mitch Johnson and Emily Thompson. Mitch is very refreshing, the epitome of a fine young man. Emily is adorable, and even though we're not close in age, it's fun talking to her. Both of them are in the same department as Michael, so they weren't exactly acquaintances. Therefore, I was initially unsure how to interact when they first came over, but as they visited more often, we became friendlier. "Linda, let me help you wash the dishes." "Oh, you don't have to do that." "No, please. I want to help since I'm visiting." "Really? Well then, I'd appreciate your help." Emily often helped with washing the dirty dishes and glasses, and preparing drinks and snacks, while Mitch would talk to or take care of Michael when he was drunk. Honestly, if it weren't for Mitch and Emily coming over, I would have to entertain by myself, and that would be quite a hassle. "Mr. Smith, you're drinking too much. Don't make your wife worry, okay?" It's fine. She's okay with it." Mr. Smith. While Emily and I were in the kitchen, such conversations would sometimes drift over to us. Given his past behavior, I thought Michael really didn't care about me, but Emily surprised me with her comment. It's because of a good relationship between spouses that he can say such things, right? Mr. Smith always talks about you, you know? Saying things like how delicious last night's dinner was, or how you always care for him and make him feel comfortable at home. I couldn't believe Michael was saying such things. Michael talks about me like that? Yes. He talks about home every day. It sounds so fun. I wish I could have a wonderful family like Michael's. Is that so? My feelings were complicated. My home life was anything but fun. I didn't want anyone to aspire to have a family like mine. But I guess Michael had to maintain his image at work. I didn't reveal the truth, just quietly listened to Emily's stories. Well, it's understandable to think it's a happy home if you don't know the inside story. At the dinner table with Michael, Noah would also occasionally join in our conversations, making the atmosphere very pleasant. Mitch and Emily were always kind to Noah. Noah's in middle school, right? Yes, he's in middle school. Wow, so young. You're still young too, aren't you? I found such conversations very enjoyable. On the days Mitch and Emily visited, I felt quite relieved. At first, Michael brought Mitch and Emily over without telling me. Honestly, it was hard to accept at the beginning. But I'm glad I didn't turn them away. However, Michael's attitude didn't change even when Mitch and Emily were there. Being with his subordinates and under the influence of alcohol, he never seemed to be in a bad mood, which was good. But seriously, my wife. She's totally useless. Drunk, Michael began showing his true nature. Mitch and Emily seemed to take his words as a joke. Come on, Mr. Smith. What are you joking about? Your wife is a wonderful person, isn't she? Right, Emily? Yeah, really admirable. No, you shouldn't admire someone like her. You'll regret it in the future, huh? Come on, Michael, you're drunk again. Mitch and Emily seemed to think Michael was disparaging me because he was drunk. Indeed, they probably thought so because they always heard good things about me at work. But I knew they meant no harm. I had become accustomed to Michael speaking ill of me, so I could only smile quietly along with them. Years later, time flew by and Noah graduated from middle school, then high school, and went on to college in the city. After 4 years, he graduated and started working for a local company, renting a house near our home. Initially, I suggested he could live with us, but Noah wanted to experience living alone. I respected his wishes and accepted his decision. Michael's behavior remained the same. By this time, he had been promoted to department head and seemed to have more subordinates than before. He sighed more and became more careless with things. But his attitude towards me didn't get worse. I thought he might take out his accumulated stress on me. As usual, Michael often brought Mitch and Emily over for drinks, and he started coming home after midnight more often than before. I figured he was probably relieving his stress in his own way. Then, after a few more years, I received a call from Noah. Mom, I'm getting married. Married. Congratulations. I couldn't believe Noah was getting married. Time really flies. It seems like just yesterday he was in middle school. He told Michael about it too, and Michael seemed happy. From that day, preparations for the wedding began, including helping with arrangements and meeting his fiancée. Michael was busy, so I was mainly the one helping out. During the planning, we decided to invite Mitch and Emily as they had been a great help. They both attended the wedding, looking very smart. And once again, they took care of a drunk Michael. Honestly, it was embarrassing to have him drunk at such an event. But thankfully, Mitch and Emily handled it well, preventing any awkwardness. Especially Emily, who stayed close to Michael the whole time. They seemed to have a lot of physical contact, but maybe Emily was just a bit drunk. I didn't mind and just watched them. After a few hours, the wedding ended and Michael and I headed home. He must have drunk a lot. Michael slept in the back seat all the way home. When we got home and entered the living room, Michael suddenly threw his bag at me. Ouch! What are you doing? I turned to look at Michael and he was chuckling. Hey, housekeeper. Take care of this. Told so, I looked at the bag on the floor. Exhausted as I was, I didn't argue and just picked up the bag. Scattered around were documents and a planner. Maybe this chocolate is for when he gets a little hungry. I gathered them and put them back in the bag. But then, I found something unusual. It was a divorce paper. Moreover, Michael's part was already filled in. What is this? The moment I saw the divorce papers, time seemed to stop. But then I composed myself. Looking at Michael, he was already asleep, drunk. That's right. Why was I still trying to live with Michael? Noah was employed and married now, so there was no need to stay for the family's sake. Realizing this, something inside me crumbled. Is this his way of saying we should sort out our relationship too? I couldn't stop myself. I took out a pen from the drawer, filled in my part, and left the house with the minimum necessary belongings. I went straight to the office L and submitted the divorce papers. The divorce between Michael and me was finalized. I couldn't believe Michael had prepared divorce papers, wanting to end our marriage. All my efforts over the years felt in vain. Leaving the office, I headed to a motel to stay for a while. After checking in, I went to the room, overwhelmed by exhaustion. Without even taking a bath, I fell asleep. The next morning, it wasn't an alarm or voices that woke me, but my phone ringing. It was Michael's name on the screen. I stepped out of the booth to a quiet spot. Hello? Hey! Linda! Where are you? I'm at a motel. Why are you at a motel? Come back home. Home? We're not a couple anymore. What? Michael must not have expected me to file for divorce. We're not a couple anymore? You know, the divorce papers in your bag, I submitted them. You wanted a divorce, right? Well, now you have it. That divorce paper, it wasn't meant for that. Then what was it for? Michael didn't say anything. I assumed he wanted the divorce. You're not saying anything. Okay, I'll come by to pick up my things later. I hung up. But the calls didn't stop. Even when I was out looking for a room or job, the phone kept ringing. Just when I thought it had stopped, Noah called. I thought he might be calling because of Michael, but I couldn't ignore my son. I immediately answered the phone. Noah? What's up? Mom. Dad told me you haven't come home? Not come home? Well, your father and I are divorced. Didn't you hear? What, divorced? Noah seemed unable to accept the fact that I had filed for divorce. Why? How could you, all of a sudden? Your dad, well, let's meet and talk about it. Can you come to the house today? I decided to call Noah home to explain the divorce to him and Michael in person. Noah agreed, and we met after his work to go home together. Michael was quite surprised to see me back without notice. Hey! Linda! Why did you just leave all of a sudden? I entered the living room and sat on the sofa. Understandably, the other two were quite bewildered. Yeah. Why suddenly decide on divorce? Well, because your dad filled out the divorce papers. What? Dad did. Noah looked at Michael in shock. Michael appeared uncomfortable and evasive. That was not really serious. I saw your signature on it. It seemed pretty serious to me. I pointed out, and Michael looked down. I had evidence that made me believe those divorce papers were meant seriously. You know, you were cheating with Emily Thompson, right? What? I knew about Michael's affair with Emily. It was obvious from how close they were and the excessive physical contact. I had thought it was just because they were drunk. But I couldn't shake off my suspicions. Thinking there might be a chance, I peeked at Michael's phone while he was asleep. There, I found several intimate exchanges with Emily. And even photos from a hotel stay. I quickly took pictures of these evidences with my phone. With photos of them together in a hotel, there's no way he could deny it. Cheating? No, that's not. Don't bother denying it. I have evidence. Evidence? When did you? When you were passed out drunk. When I was passed out. I guess it's good you're the type who falls asleep easily when drunk. Hearing this, Michael looked frustrated. But he soon raised his head and started making excuses. But really, I didn't mean to file those divorce papers. Emily told me to write them. I really didn't want to. I never wanted to divorce you, Linda. Oh really? Wanted to keep me as a convenient housekeeper who does everything you say? A convenient woman who won't complain. That's not it. I really didn't want to divorce you. Michael kept insisting he never wanted the divorce. Indeed, I thought, why would anyone let go of someone who does everything they say? But it didn't matter anymore. Adults should take care of themselves to some extent. No matter what Michael says, the fact that he referred to me as a housekeeper remains. They say the truth comes out when you're drunk, and it sure does. You know, even if you didn't intend to divorce, signing the divorce papers is considered as having that intention, right? What? Really? You're old enough to know this, aren't you? Truly an embarrassing adult. I sighed without thinking. So that's that. Oh, and since you were cheating, I'll be getting alimony from both you and Emily, just so you know. Alimony! But, of course. Don't even think about running away. I'll consult a lawyer and make sure you face the consequences. Michael probably never imagined it would come to this. If he hadn't thrown his bag at me after the wedding, maybe things wouldn't have ended up like this. But then again, cheating and throwing bags at people is questionable behavior in the first place. It's a stark reminder of how one action can drastically change the course of your life. Afterward, at Noah's suggestion, I decided to move in with him in his house. I was worried about being a burden, but he said, no way. My wife likes you a lot, and I think she'd be happy to live with you. So I gratefully accepted his offer. I packed up my belongings from the house I'd no longer return to, with Noah's help. I packed my clothes and watercolor painting tools into some cases and headed to Noah's house. Even until the last moment, Michael kept pleading, please reconsider the divorce. I'm begging you. But what was he thinking now? Cheating on me clearly showed he had no feelings left for me. I was genuinely relieved to be divorced from Michael. Later, I consulted a lawyer. Apparently, I could claim much more alimony than I expected due to the length of our marriage. I called Michael and Emily to the office, confirmed their affair, and presented the evidence. Cheating. Emily was initially confused and denied it, but after seeing the evidence, she admitted it. She should have just admitted it from the start. I had thought of Emily as a genuinely nice person, so learning about the affair and the attempt to cover it up was quite shocking. By that time, Michael had resigned himself to the situation. I'm really sorry. I'll pay the alimony. If only he had regretted his actions from the beginning. In the end, whether Emily was influenced by Michael or regretted her actions, she agreed to pay alimony and listened to the lawyer's explanation about it. Finally, they both apologized to me. Whether they truly regretted their actions or it was just for show, I couldn't tell. That was for them to know. But I hoped this experience would make them reconsider their actions and how much they hurt me. After the discussion, I returned home. Noah's wife welcomed me with a smile, which lightened my fatigue a bit. Since the divorce, I started working part-time near Noah's house. I was anxious about working again after so long, but the people at work were so kind that my anxiety soon faded. I'm getting along well with Noah and his wife. Lately, I've been enjoying cooking with her. The divorce is settled, and I've received the alimony. I thought everything was resolved. But then, one day, an unexpected encounter stirred things up again. It was Mitch. While shopping at the supermarket, I saw Mitch, likely returning from work. He noticed me and happily came over. Hello. Long time no see. Mitch. It's been a while. I greeted Mitch and we chatted for a bit. We talked about recent happenings, work stuff, and what we were planning for dinner. But something about Mitch seemed off. He wasn't his usual bright self, almost desperate. Curious, I casually brought up a topic of conversation. Mitch. You seem a bit down, are you okay? It seemed like I hit the nail on the head. As I waited for Mitch's response, he slowly began to speak. Recently, my girlfriend and I broke up. Oh, really? That girlfriend was Emily, who used to come over with me. What? Emily. But Emily was. I stopped myself mid-sentence. But of course, Mitch seemed curious. Did something happen? Since he asked, I told him about Emily and Michael, and how Michael and I got divorced. Then Mitch exclaimed. What? You got divorced? Yes. We've been divorced for a while now. So that's why. I was wondering why I wasn't invited over anymore. Also, Mr. Smith. He still talks about his family at work, you know? He does. I couldn't believe Michael was still talking about us. I instinctively held my head in my hands. I kind of realized Mr. Smith and Emily might be involved. They were always too close. You thought the same, Mitch? Yes. Well. Mitch looked down awkwardly but soon looked up and said, I can't forgive Emily and Mr. Smith. I'll report this to my supervisor. I was surprised that Mitch had noticed Emily and Michael's affair. I thought I was the only one who knew. We parted ways that day, and he promised to let me know what happened later. A few weeks later, I got a text from Mitch. He must have reported Michael and Emily to his supervisor. Curious about the outcome, I immediately opened the email. It turned out Michael and Emily both received pay cuts, and Michael was also demoted, now working like a regular employee. Following Mitch's revelation, the affair between Michael and Emily became known throughout the company, and they were looked down upon. While Michael was still at the company, Emily, perhaps feeling uncomfortable, resigned. I was surprised Michael hadn't quit, but perhaps he realized he couldn't get a stable job elsewhere. I wondered how long he could keep it up. A year after the divorce and hearing from Mitch, he was still at the company. Michael and Emily continued to pay alimony, so they must be managing somehow. Mitch was recognized for his hard work and got promoted. Despite Michael once caring for his subordinate Mitch, his actions led to him being Mitch's subordinate. I wondered how that felt for him. I might be a bit mean for wanting to ask him that. Now, I'm living with Noah and his family, still working part-time at the supermarket. I started with stocking shelves, but now I'm learning to make deli items and use the cash register. It's nice to have new challenges every day. I'm getting along very well with Noah and his wife. We're planning to bake some sweets together today. I'm grateful for my kind workplace and loving family, and continue to live my life with appreciation. I'm Katherine Johnson, 55 years old. I'm a divorced wedding planner who split up with my husband 10 years ago. For 7 years before the divorce, my husband and daughter continually ignored me. As soon as she graduated from college, my daughter started living on her own. Despite being ignored, I felt it was my responsibility to raise her until she graduated, so I chose to stay. However, once she was independent and I divorced my husband, I left the house with my son. It's been 10 years since the divorce, and back then, my son had just started high school. I still feel a sharp pain in my heart when I think back to those days. But by living each day to the fullest, that pain gradually faded away. Now, a name I hadn't seen in 10 years suddenly appeared on my phone. Hello? You still sound as dreary as ever. A voice filled with disdain responded. It was my ex-husband. After 10 years, what could he possibly want to talk about? I replied with the bare minimum. I'm at work right now. Wow, you're working. Lucky, someone actually hired you. My ex-husband always looked down on me. Maybe it was his chauvinism, needing to feel superior. In reality, he never contributed financially, indulging in gambling and debts while I worked to make ends meet. Remembering this makes my blood boil. I wanted to hang up immediately. But he's reaching out after 10 years. It must mean something. Suppressing my emotions, I continued the conversation. What do you want? I didn't want to raise my voice while working. Just calmly and in short words. He then began talking about his own needs again. Mireille is getting married. It'll look bad without a mother. Come back just for that. This was typical of my ex-husband. He was such a bastard, concerned only about appearances. Even after 10 years, he still cared about such things, trying to involve his ex-wife. Despite everything, Mireille, now 32, is still my daughter. I've never stopped thinking about her. Even though I was ignored for 7 years. But considering our past, I couldn't just agree to his request because he said so. I can't help but hesitate to meet the owner of this voice I haven't heard in a while. Does she agree to this? He asked this as if it's the most natural thing. What kind of person is this man who demands this as if it doesn't matter? What? Agree to what? Does she agree to have your ex-wife, whom you ignored and divorced, attend their wedding? Does this man really not understand? His response made everything clear. Can't you just listen to me? A divorced couple attending their daughter's wedding sounds quite good, doesn't it? He was still obsessed with keeping up appearances. To him, a former couple attending an event together was probably nothing out of the ordinary. While I was calmly thinking about this, he struck another blow. You must be working as a regular employee by now, right? Well, during our marriage, I supported you financially. It's only fair you contribute to Mireille's wedding expenses. What? I remembered working part-time and then as a full-time employee. I have been given an even higher position now. Back then, it wasn't for the sake of a comfortable life, rather, it was the result of me continuing to work to earn a living that I couldn't afford, and of course I have no recollection of having to pay for it. I don't mean to complain now, but I can't even say a word at how much his memories are being altered for his own convenience. Discuss the money directly with Mireille. I'm busy too. It all came down to public image and money for him. Even now, these conversations bring back painful memories. Shortly after we got married, I found out about my ex-husband's love for gambling. He earned a salary, but it never made its way home. The debts kept piling up without me realizing. While I was working hard to support our family and raise our kids, he accused me, "All you care about is money, you don't care about me." He started coming home reeking of perfume, not bothering to hide or make excuses for his affairs. It seemed like cheating was just inevitable for him. It's all in the past now. Not a pleasant memory, but I try to move on. Trying to change the subject, I take a deep breath and ask him over the phone. What does Mireille say? What, you're still being ignored by Mireille? Being continually ignored by your own daughter, that's pathetic. He said mockingly, laughing as if he was enjoying this. Talking to this man wouldn't lead to anything productive. I'll talk to her directly. You should. I hope Mireille talks to you normally. He replied with a snicker and abruptly ended the call. I let out a deep sigh and turned my phone back on. On the day, I arrived early at the waiting room and sat down alone. Suddenly, the door opened and I heard footsteps I'd recognize even after 10 years. They stopped right in front of me. Why are you sitting here? What? There's no place for a mother who abandoned her child. His unnecessarily loud voice echoed in the small room. What do you mean? You heard it from Mireille, didn't you? What? There's no seat for a mother who hasn't properly talked to her daughter for 17 years. You're not wanted here. His words, spat out with a triumphant laugh, were predictable. I could imagine his expression without even looking. He must have been picturing a mother rejected by her daughter, after hinting at a joint appearance by the divorced couple over a phone call after 10 years. Such a typical move of his. Unaware that I'm thinking this, he continues his verbal attack, but inside, I can't stop laughing. Suppressing my emotions, I respond solemnly. I was just so curious. What? I was so curious, I just had to come. What? You're curious about your daughter's wedding after being ignored for 7 years and out of touch for 10? He says, laughing. Man, are you some kind of masochist? I paid some money, so let me have a peek. No way. Mireille doesn't care about you at all. You're just a wallet. He laughed uncontrollably, holding his stomach. Amidst his laughter, I asked him. Hey. What? What time is it? What? It's 11:30. Wasn't the ceremony supposed to start at 11? What? Even my ex-husband seemed to question why we were 30 minutes late. He started messaging Mireille. I've sent Mireille a message, just waiting for a reply now. He said, flopping onto a sofa. After a while, there was a soft knock. My ex-husband responded gruffly, and 2 figures slid into the room. Mireille and my son Ethan. My ex-husband, looking puzzled, addressed them. Mireille, why are you dressed like that? Mireille, who should have been dressed as a bride, was wearing a regular dress. Ethan, too, was casually dressed in a jacket and pants. And there I was, in my plain pantsuit. Looking baffled, my ex-husband asked Mireille with a blank expression the same question again. Mireille casually replied, "What are you talking about? My wedding's already over."
What? The wedding's over?
Yes.
What do you mean it's over? I don't understand.
It's over means it's over, just like that. Right, Mom? Mireille said, smiling at me. Ethan and I returned her smile. My ex-husband looked at us as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing.
Hey! What do you mean it's over? Do you know something about this?
He demanded, turning to me.
It's just as Mireille said. What? Like I said before, the three of us and the other family had the ceremony in Hawaii without you.
Mireille calmly explained the main points to her father. His voice rose an octave in his flustered state.
What? Hawaii?
Mom helped us out, you didn't contribute a penny. Why would we want someone like you at the wedding? Of course, we wanted Mom there. Mireille added, stunning her father. My ex-husband, grasping at straws, asked.
Then what's this today? Why are we all gathered in the wedding venue's waiting room?
Mireille's eyes flickered as she looked at her father. Then coldly said, "It's to cut ties with you." My ex-husband trembled slightly as he spoke.
What do you mean by cutting ties with me? You ignored her with me for 7 years and then she left us.
He clearly didn't expect such treatment from his daughter, whom he thought was on his side. He was visibly shocked. But Mireille was relentless. What? You didn't just ignore Mom, you ignored me and Ethan too.
What?
I wasn't ignoring Mom with you.
I find it disgusting to be associated with a man who ignored his family, had an affair, and had a child out of wedlock. What?
My ex-husband gasped at Mireille's words. He stared at her, his expression blank. In the dead silence, Mireille started talking.
The reason I didn't talk to Mom was to keep an eye on you. What? You neglected your family for gambling and debts, had an affair, even had a love child.
And you hit Mom behind our backs, didn't you?
What?
You thought we didn't notice?
Any middle schooler would understand that. And when Ethan and I were nice to Mom, you hit her even more, didn't you?
My ex-husband glared at me.
You.
I didn't do anything.
It was you who didn't bother to hide your actions, even in front of the kids. What?
He must have thought I turned my children against him. I never did that. Any action I took could have backfired on the children. I wanted to avoid that at all costs. That's why I never confide in anyone about his actions. Looking back, maybe I should have secretly sought help. But back then, I was overwhelmed. I thought if I just endured, it would be enough. But my children didn't accept that. They each, in their own way, wanted to help and became involved.
I knew you were abusing Mom since I was in elementary school. What? Since then? You might have thought we were asleep, but your loud yelling woke us up, whether we liked it or not. What? But as an elementary or middle schooler, there was nothing I could do. So, I decided once I was in high school, I'd save Mom. I ignored Mom to keep an eye on you. I thought if you had an ally, you wouldn't dare hit Mom. So, to protect Mom, I decided not to talk to her. She knows that. What? She knows? It was a strategy we all came up with. What?
He hadn't expected us to be in cahoots. His face turned pale and twisted. I wonder what my children are thinking. Ignoring that, Mireille continued.
I pretended to be on Dad's side to keep him in a good mood for safety. In exchange, I made sure Ethan was always with Mom. In case you tried to hit her, Ethan, being a boy, could protect her. What? Ethan was just an elementary or middle schooler back then. He couldn't have stopped me.
My ex-husband's words made me chuckle.
What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
Just contempt?
Disgust?
Thinking about how you're always bluffing. What?
See, you always get worked up so easily.
You were always afraid of Ethan, right? Because he could see through you and shut you down with his words, even when he was little. What? I knew you avoided Ethan as much as possible. You were running away from him even though he was just a kid, because he was smart.
My ex-husband blushed in embarrassment and clammed up.
That's why. I stayed by your side, and Ethan stayed with Mom. That way, you'd never dare lay a hand on her. I never realized that.
He was visibly shocked. Mireille spoke ruthlessly to him.
Well, of course. What? You became more and more of a stranger, finding your place elsewhere. You were so oblivious, you didn't even see your own family, did you?
Remembering that time doesn't hurt me anymore. But Mireille's words started to blur my vision. Ethan gently touched my shoulder and continued. Dad.
What? About what we talked about earlier, the affair and having a child. You're not denying it, huh? Well, even if you denied it, it's the truth, and there's nothing you can do about it now. Why are you bringing this up?
My ex-husband could only give a vague response to Ethan's unexpected turn in the conversation, and Ethan pressed on.
Did you know I was working a part-time job in high school? Part-time job? You didn't know, huh? Mireille was working part-time too. What? Some dad was never home, never put money into the household, just messing around. We both had to work part-time in high school to help Mom. I didn't know. Of course, you didn't. As I said earlier, you never really saw us or Mom. So you didn't notice that Mireille was fooling you.
My ex-husband fell silent at Ethan's words.
And I worked in the kitchen of a restaurant, you know. You used to come there a lot with a woman. What? Sometimes during the day, sometimes at night. You brought a little kid with you too, right? What? That's your love child, isn't it? What? You'd loudly say things like, this kid's gonna grow up to be handsome like me and stuff. It was so embarrassing. No! Nobody wants to be like you.
Ethan snorted. He had no idea his son had seen him cheating and even seen his love child. My ex-husband started sweating and breathing shallowly. While glancing at him, I casually asked, how are May and Ken doing? I threw out names he probably didn't expect me to know, and he gasped.
How did you?
How?
Do you want to know? What? After we divorced, it might not have been a big deal for you, but I had to go through a lot of paperwork. It's impossible not to notice, especially since you acknowledged them.
My ex-husband was silent again. I didn't feel disappointed anymore, but I wondered if he thought he could hide it by keeping quiet. Eventually, when he's gone, all sorts of issues will fall on the children due to inheritance. Regardless of the divorce, the children are still related to him by blood, and so is the child he acknowledged. He probably never thought that far as a parent.
Well, I knew it, but it was still a shock. You never thought about me or the kids.
My ex-husband remained silent, no matter what was said. Was he really unable to say anything after all this? Pinned under the gaze of the three of us, my ex-husband didn't even try to make excuses, maybe due to his useless pride. I knew it. But still, what was he thinking during all those years of marriage, of family life with us? He probably thought the onslaught was over. He let out a breath, relaxing his shoulders. But he wasn't let off so easily.
And on top of that, you were begging that woman for money too, weren't you? Are you just terrible?
Ethan said with disgust.
What? What are you talking about?
Not what are you talking about.
You're even messing with the company's money now.
Mireille's unexpected words made him freeze as he stared at her.
Don't say it's a lie. I didn't do that. Really? Still playing dumb? You can't escape this. What are you talking about? Where's the proof?
His red-faced shout echoed in the room. Ethan doused his fire with a cool reply.
What? You left evidence everywhere, blatantly in the company's books. What?
His face was drained of color.
The financial audit of your company is being handled by my husband.
Mireille added. My ex-husband lost all expression, probably never imagining the man he thought he'd congratulate today as Mireille's husband was the one exposing his embezzlement. I was shocked when I heard it too. Mireille's husband, a certified public accountant, was involved in auditing my ex-husband's company. The chief accountant, who happened to know Mireille's husband's firm manager, brought up recent suspicious financial activities, leading to his involvement.
The more we looked, the stranger it got. Did you really have to embezzle $1 million for your debts and secret child support?
Mireille's words hit him hard. He must have been overwhelmed with why and how could this happen. Ethan mercilessly delivered the final blow.
You know, this is a crime.
My ex-husband froze completely. His body trembled slightly. As we watched him, Mireille said,
"That's why I wanted to end it."
"What?"
"I'm married now, connected to another family. I don't need a criminal in my family, and I wanted to reset everything I've been carrying all these years. That's why I asked Mom to prepare this room today."
"Why can she arrange this room? This is a wedding venue, right?" He turned his gaze towards me. I spoke without meeting his eyes.
"This place, it's my company."
"What? Your company?"
"I started in this industry as a part-timer, and after gradually gaining experience, I was promoted, and from there I worked hard to learn and build connections."
I entered this industry before we divorced. A little before he started ignoring me. He never knew or cared to know what company I worked for or what I did. He didn't even try to find out. So, he never knew I've been in this industry since then. It was a terrible situation. But it led to good connections for me.
And 2 years ago, I guess, I started this company with someone I've worked with for a long time.
"Who? Someone you've worked with?"
"The president of the parent company, and now, my husband."
"What?" He was speechless, as expected. I guess so. He always thought he was above his ex-wife, who is now a president's wife and a subsidiary company president. Shaking, he managed to ask us. "Mireille is..."
"What?"
"Mireille is on my side, right?"
"What?"
"When we divorced, you cut ties with her, right?" "That's right, isn't it?" He shouted desperately, but cold words rained down on him.
"Isn't that obvious? Like I said earlier, I ignored Mom on the surface for 7 years just to protect her. It was only superficial, I never really ignored her. Besides, you were hardly ever home."
"What?"
"You only saw what was on the surface, right? Whether I was ignoring Mom or not."
"Well, that's..."
"And when I graduated from college, you two got divorced. That's when I made my choice, right? To go with Mom."
"That's a lie, right?"
"It's true. Someone like you, a cheating, abusive, embezzling jerk, just disgusts me. You have no idea how much that 7 years messed with my mental health."
Mireille's voice, which had been so strong, started to tremble, her eyes filling with tears.
"Mireille, I'm so sorry."
I couldn't help but hug her.
"It's okay. Mom was always there, silently protecting us from any harm. Taking on everything, standing strong in place of a deadbeat dad who wouldn't contribute or even come home."
Mireille hugged me back, her arms trembling, sobs echoing against my back. Ethan gently rubbed our shoulders, saying,
"Anyway, Dad, you're busted."
"What?"
"Actually, I'm involved in that audit too."
"What?"
"I'm a certified public accountant now, working under Mireille's husband."
"You mean, you're with her husband's firm?"
"Yep, so I know all about your dirty deeds. I've been looking back, and it's been going on for quite a while, hasn't it? It's more than just $1 million, right?"
"What? Really?"
"Well, what you spent it on isn't my concern, but the fact you used someone else's money doesn't change."
My ex-husband fell silent. At that, I pulled out my phone and quickly sent a message to my husband. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Several men approached my ex-husband in silence as he responded. What must he be thinking? He hesitantly put out his handcuffed wrists. I averted my gaze. The soft click of the handcuffs echoed. Since then, my ex-husband has been cooperating with the police investigation. During this, they discovered he had been abusing the child he had with his mistress. Of course, he was rearrested. And the mistress too. The child, still in middle school, is now in a child protective facility, the police informed me. Hearing this, Ethan had an indescribable look on his face.
Something wrong? Well, Mom might not like it, but… I want to meet that kid.
What? I knew Ethan often saw those three at his part-time job. I thought it might be a sentiment, but he said if I had noticed something back then, maybe that kid wouldn't have been hurt. Ethan seemed to feel responsible for what had happened.
Also, yeah, you may not like it, but he's technically my brother, right?
Ethan said, looking away. Perhaps since that time 10 years ago, he had felt a vague sense of brotherhood towards the little boy.
Indeed, he's all alone now.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't feel great about it. That child was the result of betrayal. But he's alive and growing. I've made my kids go through unnecessary hardships. Part of that responsibility is undeniably mine. So, let's do what I can now.
Shall we go meet him sometime?
Ethan's face lit up with a smile. How the boy would react or receive this, I don't know. But I want to see the smiles of the children around me as much as possible. I gently stroked Ethan's head. To move forward, I'll ask someone who knows. I took out my phone, opened my history, tapped the name of someone important, and listened to the dial tone.
I'll never have anything to do with outsiders again,
Sam declares with a smirk.
What are you talking about?
I exclaim in an absurd voice, completely unprepared for Sam's remark.
Well, I heard from Agnes, but you're not Agnes's mom, right?
You're an outsider, aren't you? While I am dumbfounded, Mabel stands up, slamming her hand on the desk.
Enough is enough. What the heck are you? Dad, are you really okay with letting your daughter marry such a rude person?
Mabel, her face red with anger, launches into a tirade. Before I can get angry, my daughter is outraged, and Kay answers with a troubled look.
Mabel, calm down. Don't interfere any more than this.
I embrace the excited Mabel's shoulder and glare at Sam. All right. Sam responds with a smirk to my words. Agnes, you're lucky. This outsider won't bother us anymore. The supposed-to-be fun dinner party is ruined by Sam. Mabel, who was looking forward to the family getting together for the first time in a while, finally bursts into tears. But neither Agnes nor Sam seem to care.
I'll never have anything to do with people who hurt Mabel like this again.
Even if Agnes defies me, she is still my daughter. I don't want to upset Agnes, but I can't forgive the two for making Mabel feel this way. As long as they treat me like an outsider, I have my own thoughts. Agnes and Sam couldn't have imagined that at this moment, they would lose everything. My name is Yolanda, and I'm 48 years old. I work as an office clerk in a friend's company. I currently live with my husband and 2 daughters, 4 of us in total. My husband Kay is 1 year younger than me, 47 years old. Before marrying me, he had a previous wife. The 2 daughters are not my biological children, but were born to Kay and his ex-wife. The elder daughter, Agnes, turns 28 this year, and the younger daughter, Mabel, is 25. When Kay and I got married, both officially became my daughters. When I met them, both were in elementary school. Having separated from their mother at a young age, the girls and I quickly became close. Kay had told me that after their marriage, the girl's mother repeatedly cheated on him. Even after Mabel was born, the bad habit showed no signs of stopping, and Kay, troubled, eventually divorced her. Busy with work to support the two, Kay could only do the minimum in raising them. Their meals often consisted of frozen food or noodles, and I tried to cook as much as possible. I also bought girl-like clothes for them and visited them as much as I could. As life went on, Kay and I decided to get married. Even while dating Kay, my parents were against it. I knew the difficulties of marrying a man with children. But I left home in a way similar to running away to be with Kay. At first, the joy of spending time together as a family of 4 outweighed the hardships. But as we got used to each other, the reasons for my parents' vocal opposition to this marriage became clear. The daughters, who used to see me as an older sister, couldn't accept me suddenly becoming their mother. They didn't take me seriously, and when Kay was away, they did whatever they wanted. But if I scolded them too much, Kay didn't like it and blamed me.
You're annoyed with them because they're not your blood, aren't you?
I was deeply hurt by such remarks day after day. With each occurrence, the fact that Agnes and Mabel were not my biological children weighed heavily on me. Though my relationship with Kay had its ups and downs due to how I interacted with the daughters, we never had a major rift. On the other hand, my relationship with them increasingly troubled me. As she grew up, Mabel, who was a tomboy as a child, became more supportive of me. She often helped with housework and started to treat me more like a mother than before. However, as Agnes grew older, she came to detest me. It could have been her age, but she didn't accept me as her mother. Kay's consistent response was "it can't be helped," and he never scolded Agnes for her defiance. Seeing this, Agnes probably didn't think she was doing anything wrong. Mabel, upset by this, had reprimanded Agnes several times, but Agnes's attitude towards me never improved. As she became a high school student, Agnes began to openly attack me.
You're just an outsider, can't you stop bossing me around? Who do you think you are? So annoying.
When I accepted them as my daughters, I braced myself for some difficulties, but at this rate, Agnes will never recognize me as her mother.
Hey, seriously, isn't that too much? If you don't say something, we'll always be like this.
Feeling the gravity of the situation, I repeatedly consulted with Kay, but he always took Agnes's side.
It's only natural she can't accept you as her real mom. Why don't you try to understand that?
By this time, Kay had also started openly attacking me. I understand he loves his daughter, but isn't it a parent's job to scold her when necessary? As I feared, Kay's leniency only worsened Agnes's behavior. She stopped attending high school regularly and often didn't come home. Even when Mabel somehow got in touch, Agnes would just dismiss her with "I'm with my boyfriend." It's unacceptable for a high school girl to stay over at a man's place. Even when Mabel handed me the phone, Agnes wouldn't listen to a word I said. I hesitated to tell Kay, fearing he would be shocked, but I had no choice but to discuss it with him. However, instead of helping, Kay lashed out at me.
It's your fault Agnes turned out this way.
Kay was losing it, but Mabel put a stop to his attacks on me.
Dad, enough already. Mom has warned us many times, but you never said anything, did you?
Kay seemed to realize this too. Rebuked by Mabel, he clenched his fists in impotent rage and slammed the table. After that, Kay continued to turn a blind eye to Agnes's actions, deceiving himself. Mabel and I could do nothing as Agnes ended up dropping out of high school. Agnes rarely came home, and even Kay didn't clearly know what she was up to. The family was falling apart, but thanks to Mabel, Kay and I managed to stay together. Time passed, and one day, when Mabel turned 25.
Mom, Agnes is getting married.
Mabel murmured as she returned from work. Agnes hardly came home since then, but Mabel regularly checked up on her. Agnes never had a stable job, but she always had a boyfriend. Now, she is finally settling down. Though we'd grown apart, I was happy to hear the good news about our family. When Kay heard about Agnes's marriage, we laughed together for the first time in a long while. Moreover, Agnes contacted us, wanting to bring her fiancé over for a direct conversation. Mabel seemed most relieved by this news. She hoped that improving relations with Agnes would mend my relationship with Kay. Despite everything, we might laugh together again like we used to. A faint hope filled my heart. A few days later, Agnes came home as promised. It had been about a year since she last came, so it was a rare family gathering. Beside Agnes stood her fiancé, dressed in a suit. "Nice to meet you. I'm Sam, dating Agnes." Sam seemed serious, but he avoided eye contact with me, focusing only on Kay and Mabel.
I apologize for the concern caused by Agnes not returning home.
Sam had been dating Agnes for about 2 years, but indeed, during these 2 years, we hardly saw each other. Agnes and Sam, acting as if I were invisible, followed Kay into the living room. Noticing their behavior, Mabel frowned and looked at me.
Mom!
Mabel seemed about to say something, but I took her hand, stopping her, and followed the three into the living room. We sat across from Agnes and Sam, with the table between us. For today, I had splurged on feasts, and we started chatting.
Dad, Mabel, it's been a while.
Agnes said, still intentionally ignoring me.
Agnes, have you been ignoring Mom this whole time?
Mabel got upset with Agnes's attitude.
Oh, you're here.
Agnes laughed artificially, and Sam, sitting next to her, joined in. Mabel was about to say more, but I stopped her.
Mabel, let it go.
Mabel's mouth moved as if to say but I cut her off.
Anyway, we're here today to discuss with Dad.
As if our exchange hadn't happened, Agnes turned to Sam. Urged by Agnes, Sam straightened up and spoke.
I apologize for the late greeting, but I will be marrying Agnes. I promise to make her happy.
Sam looked earnestly at Kay as he spoke grandly.
Despite her being this way, I hope you'll be kind to her.
At Kay's words, Agnes and Sam joyfully held hands.
Actually, there's something we want to say.
Agnes prompted Sam to continue.
We will have nothing to do with outsiders anymore.
Looking directly at me, Sam stated this with a smirk.
What? What are you saying?
I exclaimed in disbelief at this unexpected remark. Even if it was a joke, it was beyond an acceptable level.
Well, I heard from Agnes, you're not really Agnes's mom, right? You're an outsider, aren't you?
Sam seemed to be enjoying my reaction. Just when I thought our crumbling family might be mended, that hope was cruelly shattered. I was speechless for a while, just comparing the faces of Agnes and Sam. Then, seemingly unable to bear it any longer, Mabel stood up, slamming her hand on the desk.
Enough is enough. What are you even saying? Dad, are you really okay with your daughter marrying such a rude person?
Mabel, her face red with anger, burst out. Before I could get angry, my daughter was already outraged, and Kay responded with a troubled look.
Mabel, calm down. Don't interfere anymore.
This was the first time Mabel was reprimanded by Kay for taking my side. I embraced the excited Mabel and glared at Sam.
All right.
The three of them exchanged glances at my words.
I'll have nothing to do with people who hurt Mabel anymore.
As I declared this, Kay looked a bit troubled, but Agnes and Sam burst out laughing.
It's not like we're hurting Mabel, but okay. You won't be invited to the wedding.
Agnes said, and Sam nodded. It's unthinkable to invite irrelevant outsiders to our special day, Sam said, having meals.
Mom, it's okay. I don't want to see these people anymore.
Mabel said tearfully. Agnes is dear to him, but for Kay, Mabel is also an important daughter.
Mabel, don't say that.
Kay stood up, disturbed by Mabel's tears, but was stopped by Agnes.
Dad, let it be. Just ignore it.
Kay, offered a drink by Sam, reluctantly picked up the glass, still concerned about us. I spoke to Mabel and left the living room. Mabel continued to cry, clearly shocked. The chatter of the three continued in the living room, but Mabel and I got ready and left the house. I took Mabel to my parents' house, where they had been quietly watching over us since my marriage to Kay. It felt wrong to turn to them only in times of need, but they were the only ones I could rely on now.
Sorry for visiting you suddenly.
My parents, surprised to see Mabel and me after so long, welcomed us with smiles. Seeing Mabel's continued tears, my mother seemed deeply pained. After explaining the situation in the living room, both my parents urged, "Stay here for a while." Mabel wanted this too, so we gratefully accepted their kindness. Kay kept calling, so I sent a short message to reassure him of Mabel's safety. Despite scolding Mabel at that moment, it seemed he was still worried about his daughter. Mabel, feeling betrayed by Kay siding with Agnes and Sam, couldn't forgive him. "I don't want to talk to Dad," she said, with no intention of returning home. While Kay was away at work, Mabel and I packed our belongings and moved them out. We decided it was best to live apart for a while, even if we didn't divorce. Although Kay didn't apologize to me directly, it seems he was reflecting on Mabel's attitude. However, it also appeared he had no intention of blaming Agnes or Sam. As time passed, the date of their wedding was set, and the day arrived. Mabel, having been begged by Agnes and Kay, reluctantly agreed to attend the ceremony.
Mom, I really don't want to go.
Mabel kept complaining until the last moment, but I persuaded her.
They said they would have nothing to do with outsiders, right? I want you to see them realize the meaning of their words.
With my meaningful words, Mabel, though still hesitant, agreed.
If you say so, I'll go. But I'll never forgive Agnes and that guy.
Mabel dressed up and left for the ceremony. Upon arriving at the venue, Mabel was greeted by Kay at the entrance.
Mabel!
Kay was relieved to see her after such a long time, but Mabel's feelings hadn't changed. After a brief conversation, she was led to the reception hall.
What's this? Am I early?
Entering the hall, Mabel exclaimed in surprise, looking around. Mabel had planned to arrive just in time for the start of the ceremony to avoid talking to Agnes and Sam. Checking her watch and the invitation, there was no mistake, it was 5 minutes before the ceremony was due to start. Yet, the venue was sparsely populated, even though it was only 5 minutes to the start. The bride's side, with fewer relatives, company associates, and friends, had some relatives I had met a few times. However, most of the venue was reserved for the groom's side, where there were hardly any guests. Only a couple presumed to be Sam's parents and a few friends were there. Most of these seats were probably reserved for guests related to Sam's company. As Mabel stood puzzled, Sam's angry shouts could be heard.
What the hell is going on?
Turning around, Mabel saw Sam in a tuxedo, yelling at the reception.
Why aren't my guests here? Was there a mistake on the invitation?
Sam was berating a friend who seemed to be handling the reception, but there was no error on the invitation. Meanwhile, Agnes looked worriedly from the dressing room. As time passed the scheduled start, the venue became increasingly chaotic. Mabel, confused about what was happening, suddenly realized.
Could it be because of Mom?
I appeared at the venue just as Agnes and Sam were panicking.
What are you doing here?
Agnes, busy making phone calls with Sam due to the unusual situation, noticed me. Mabel, spotting me, rushed over.
Mom! What's going on? What's all this?
Mabel bombarded me with questions, puzzled by my presence and the absence of guests.
Did you do something?
Noticing our exchange, Sam approached us, confronting me.
Don't come any closer. Since you said you'd have nothing to do with outsiders, I made sure to decline the company of people who are also outsiders.
I rebuked Sam, causing him to stop in his tracks, but he opened his mouth with an angry expression.
What are you talking about? That's not what I meant. I said I didn't want anything to do with you, an outsider.
Sam, his hair in disarray, was shouting, but his outburst didn't change the situation.
Would you understand this situation if I used my maiden name?
Yolanda Smith. At that moment, a look of shock crossed Sam's face. I confirmed the change in Sam's expression and continued.
By the way, my brother's name is Simon Smith.
As I mentioned my brother's name, Sam's face twisted in fear.
What are you saying? Simon Smith, isn't that the name of the president of our company?
Yes, as unlikely as it may seem, Sam was an employee at the company run by my brother. Previously, when Sam came to introduce himself for marriage, he boasted about being an elite. At that time, he revealed that he worked at a major trading company managed by my brother. I was surprised at first, but of course, Sam didn't know the relationship between my brother and me. However, when Sam declared he would have nothing to do with me in the future, I decided to do this. When Mabel and I left the house, I consulted with my parents and confided everything to my brother. My brother was surprised, but said that Sam wasn't the elite he claimed to be and didn't know much about him. Later, after my brother inquired among Sam's colleagues, it turned out that Sam was mistaken about his abilities, thinking he was capable because those around him were excellent. He seemed unaware that he wasn't well regarded by his colleagues. Oblivious to this, Sam confidently invited many company associates. My brother, angered that Sam hurt me and Mabel, declared he would fire him immediately. However, remembering that Sam had discussed with Kay about inviting many company associates, I intervened. I wanted Sam to be embarrassed and to get my revenge. This would surely shatter the pride of the overconfident Sam. It would be a humiliation in front of Agnes. My brother agreed with my plan. As they wished, they would have nothing to do with me and my family, who are outsiders, from now on. Sam and Agnes were speechless upon knowing everything. Kay knew my brother ran a company, but it was unbelievable to him that it was Sam's company.
You did this on purpose, just to embarrass me.
Sam glared at me, his face pale.
It's all your own doing, isn't it? Looking down on people, hurting them, and now what are you saying?
I raised my voice at Sam's victim-like tone. I really didn't want to do this. Neither my brother nor Mabel wished to ruin the future of Agnes, my daughter. Tears naturally started to flow as I thought about it. Mom. Mabel gently placed her hand on my shoulder, filled with unresolvable feelings.
Yolanda, leave the rest to me.
I turned around at the sudden voice to see my brother standing there.
Boss!
My brother glanced at Sam, then addressed Agnes.
Do you remember me? You may think of me as a stranger, but both Yolanda and I have always cared deeply for you.
My brother continued with a sad expression.
It might have been Sam's words, but you have your responsibility too. As an adult, you must bear that responsibility.
Agnes, still in her wedding dress, looked downcast.
Sam, needless to say, you'll be leaving the company. Being a company-initiated resignation, you'll struggle in your job search with this fact.
As my brother said, Sam would be questioned about his reason for leaving in future job interviews. The crime he committed this time would haunt him for life. And given Sam's high pride, it's hard to imagine him being fired without consequences.
No way! Am I getting fired?
Sam seemed to have lost his grip on reality, repeating the same words like a broken record.
Sam!
Agnes frantically shook Sam's body, but he collapsed weakly on the spot. Kay watched silently, saying nothing. Afterward, he neither complained to me nor blamed me. The venue turned into chaos due to the commotion, and neither Agnes nor Sam was in any state to continue the ceremony. I apologized to Sam's parents and friends and explained the whole situation. I thought Sam's parents would blame me and my brother, but they were furious at their son's actions and repeatedly apologized to me and Mabel. In a semi-hysterical state, Sam wept and desperately pleaded. After consulting with Sam's parents and Kay, we decided to cancel the wedding due to the disturbance. While we were busy, Sam never regained his sanity. Days after the wedding, Mabel and I had been staying at my parents' house. Mabel seemed unchanged in her thoughts, with no intention of living with Kay or Agnes again. I considered divorcing Kay, but wondered if that would be best for Mabel. I thought for a long time, but no clear answer came. However, both Kay and I somehow knew we wouldn't be together again. I thought about renting an apartment and living with Mabel, but my parents insisted we stay. They said we should live here now that we're finally together again. I accepted my parents' kind offer and decided to stay with them. Meanwhile, Sam fell into a mental breakdown and has been confined to his home. Sam, who never doubted his own excellence, was easily dismissed by my brother, his pride torn to shreds. However, I never received any blame from Sam's parents. They continued to apologize to me repeatedly. Sam's dismissive behavior towards me ultimately betrayed his own parents. Agnes, having separated from Sam, started living with Kay again. Agnes seemed to have lost all patience with Sam, who had become weak and lost everything. Even though Agnes didn't suffer as much damage as Sam, she was apparently shocked enough to return to the home she hadn't been back to in a long time. She tried to contact me multiple times to apologize, but I haven't accepted her apologies yet. I want her to fully understand how much she hurt me with her words and actions over the years. It's not a matter that can be simply resolved. Wanting her to understand this, I've steeled my heart and haven't spoken to Agnes. Mabel agrees with me and hasn't accepted Agnes's apologies either. Everyone makes mistakes, but not all can be undone. I hope Agnes, who must have had her own struggles, truly reflects on the pain she caused Mabel and me. A few months have passed since Mabel and I started our new life. There has been no progress in my relationship with Kay. However, I heard that Kay was deeply shocked by this and reflected on his actions. Since then, Agnes has been desperately job hunting and has started working. Having not worked since dropping out of high school, she's struggling quite a bit. Mabel seems a bit relieved to hear that her sister is making an effort. Thinking back, Mabel has always been on my side. She left Kay and Agnes, who are her blood relatives, to be with me. I felt it when we lived as a family of 4, but now I truly realize its value. Mabel has grown close to my parents and often helps them. Seeing my parents' smiles, which I hadn't seen for a long time, makes me happy. Though I can't live with Kay and Agnes anymore, I'm satisfied with this new life. I vow to always cherish Mabel, who has always supported me, and my parents, who warmly welcomed us. My name is Sally. In my younger days, I wanted to become an actress and joined a theater group. I seemed to have some talent, but meeting my ex-husband, Jack, changed my life plans completely. He demanded that I give up acting. Torn between marriage and my dreams, I chose the former. I quickly married, but we struggled to have children. It was only after 10 years that I finally became pregnant. Overjoyed, I bought a cake and hurried home to tell Jack. I'll tell Jack about pregnancy as soon as he gets home. But what was supposed to be the best night turned into the worst. Jack came home tired and showed me divorce papers with a lawyer's contact information. What's this? I want a divorce. I can't do this with you anymore. To think, I finally got pregnant at 41, and this is what happens. The joy of pregnancy vanished, leaving only a sad reality. Why? Why all of a sudden? It's not sudden. I've been thinking about this for a long time. But why? Just, please, let's get divorced. No matter how much I asked for a reason, Jack never explained. Sorry. That was the last thing Jack said to me. Without telling him about the pregnancy, I ended up single again. But maybe having the baby in my belly helped me endure it. 5 years later, without remarrying, I, as a single mother, found the greatest joy in my child. My daughter, Anna, was born with a smile like an angel. Thank you, Anna, for being born. Mommy is so happy because you are here. Every day was a struggle, but I never knew being a mom could be this fulfilling. Then one day, I met the last person I wanted to see. It was my ex-husband, Jack, from 5 years ago. He had changed so much, I didn't recognize him until he spoke. Hey, long time no see. Huh? It's me, Jack, your ex-husband. He looked nothing like the serious businessman he used to be, more like a thug. Is that you, Jack? You've changed a lot. What do you mean, changed? You mean I look younger? Something like that. Though saying he looked younger would be more like a joke. Why? Next to Jack was a young woman clinging to his arm. Probably in her late 20s. Jack should be 45, like me. Meaning she was over 20 years younger than him. The woman laughed mockingly at me. Who's this? She's my ex-wife. You know, the one I told you about. Oh, that one. Wait, that one? You mean there were others? No, it's not like that. We divorced 5 years ago. I was seeing her back then but didn't tell you. So, you divorced me because you were cheating? It's not cheating, I'm crazy about her. I see. I felt dizzy. But seeing him like this, I knew divorcing him wasn't a mistake. Is she your wife? We aren't married yet. But if things keep going this way, we might be. I see, congratulations. Yeah, thanks. With a younger wife, having kids will probably be quicker. We couldn't have kids when I was with you, but now I might become a father. That's good for you. Did you ever get married again? No, I didn't. Still single, huh? I thought that might happen. Well, it can't be helped. You were 41 when we split. Men can remarry at that age, but it's harder for women. Looks do matter, after all. I don't think marriage is everything. You say that, but isn't it because you couldn't have kids? Jack looked like he was trying too hard to keep up with his young companion. It seemed like a strain for him.
Since you can't have kids, it's better not to marry, right? It's like a fraud if you marry and can't have them. I have a child.
Huh?
You had a kid without being married? That's bold. Kids are just a money drain. Well, I guess it's an old lady's kid. Probably ugly and dumb. That's not true. You gotta say that, huh? Wait, you couldn't get pregnant with me, but with another man you could? You're wrong there. My child is also yours. What do you mean by that? On the day we divorced, I found out at the hospital that I was pregnant. I was excited to tell you, but then you brought up divorce, so I never did. What? So, the child is partly yours. You're kidding! It's true. But don't worry, I'm not asking you to acknowledge her now. Yeah.
At that moment, a little girl came over, led by a woman. Mommy, I'm done.
Mommy? So, she's your kid?
Yes, she's my daughter. Her name is Anna. Anna came over and bowed halfway. Nice to meet you. I'm Anna. How old are you? I'm 4. The woman who had been clinging to Jack suddenly lit up and reached out to shake Anna's hand.
Anna, as in Anna Smith.
Yes, I'm Anna.
Please, can I shake your hand?
Of course. Go ahead, Anna. Here you go. Anna said as she extended her small hand.
Wow, she's adorable. The real deal.
What are you talking about? Of course, she's real.
Not like that. She's the real Anna Smith. I'm so thrilled.
What do you mean? Why are you shaking hands?
Jack, don't you recognize her?
Recognize? She's a little girl.
No. She's the child actress Anna Smith, a prodigy.
Yes, that's right. My daughter Anna was causing a big stir as a child actress. She was busy every day, going to studios, filming locations, and even shopping malls. Today we were at a shopping mall.
I've seen all her movies and dramas. Truly an angel.
Thank you.
She's adorable. I'm a big fan of Anna. I've collected all her merchandise. Getting the teddy bear she collaborated with Winnie the Pooh was tough, but I managed.
Jack's girlfriend seemed to genuinely like Anna, talking in detail about Anna-related merchandise.
Who would have thought your girlfriend would be an Anna fan?
Life is full of surprises.
Is she that famous? She's super famous even at this young age. Not knowing Anna today is just wrong.
Wrong? She's just a child actor, after all.
She's not just any child actor. Despite her small size, she's incredibly talented in acting, with such a cute smile. She's called a once-in-a-century prodigy.
Wow, is she that amazing?
She's more than amazing. Nowadays, she's the go-to child actor for dramas. Even if she's in the same show with other child actors, she outshines them all. There are rumors she'll become a great actress in the future.
Huh, I see. The woman talked about Anna with genuine happiness and excitement, but Jack had a meaningful smile on his face.
So, she must be making quite a bit of money.
Well, she must be a gold mine, right? With her alone, you could probably buy a castle.
It's not like that. There are limits to how much a young child can work.
Right. Too much work and Anna wouldn't have time to play.
Huh, my kid's a genius child actor. Wonder who she takes after. It must be me. Before I married you, I wanted to be an actress. I even passed some auditions. Yeah, I remember you saying something about wanting to be an actress.
Right.
I had to choose between marriage and acting, and I chose marriage. Sometimes I wish I could go back and choose differently, especially now. But Anna was born because you made that choice.
That's true.
She's here because she was born to us. But I never imagined that after our divorce, the child that came would fulfill my dream. I'm excited to see what kind of actress she'll become. Hopefully, a world-famous one, but that's up to Anna. Why's that? She's just a kid. Shouldn't it be about what the parents want? It doesn't work that way. Anna will grow up and decide for herself.
Huh.
And who's that with her? That's Anna's manager, Molly. Anna is very fond of her, which is a big help.
Molly smiled in greeting, but Jack didn't respond. Having a manager, huh? Yes, with her success, it's necessary. What were you doing just now? We were recording a radio show. Here? I think it was live.
A job for such a small child? And she'll be earning for decades to come. But why show business? She was scouted while we were shopping.
One thing led to another, and here we are. Huh, things like that happen?
We have to go to the next location.
Molly then spoke up. You're leaving?
Yes. The next site is waiting.
Wow, Anna's really in demand.
Wait a minute. You said Anna is partly my child, right? Well, she does have half your genes. She was conceived before our divorce. So, I have rights as a parent, right? You have responsibilities, more than rights.
I see. Jack smiled slyly and said to Anna, I'm your dad. But Anna just tilted her head.
I don't understand.
Of course. Suddenly being told, I'm your dad, would be confusing for a 4-year-old. However, he was desperately trying to make her realize that he was her father.
I'm your dad, Anna. It's been a long time since we met. You might not remember, but you have my genes.
But the more desperate Jack became, the more frightened Anna got, hiding behind her manager, Molly.
Why didn't you tell her about me?
What?
You can't just spring that on me. Aren't you supposed to have a picture of the father or talk about me?
We're divorced. Why would I have your picture or talk about you?
I had no plans to reunite, and today's meeting was just a coincidence. It's not about whether I still have feelings for you or not. I never planned to see you again. Today's meeting was just a coincidence. I'm not going to confuse my daughter by telling her things that aren't necessary. Still, you should have told her about her father. It's better for a child to know they have a dad.
Don't be ridiculous. You chose to leave for someone else. If we hadn't met today, I wouldn't have told her until she was older.
You should have told her. Then she would have understood when I said I'm her dad. You say she's half mine, but you're not being fair.
Suddenly, Jack started to argue more passionately. But then, Anna pushed him. With all the strength in her small hands.
You can't be mean to mommy.
Of course, such a push wouldn't do much. If one tries to push it away, it can indeed be pushed away.
What, Anna? You're standing up to your dad? I'm not being mean to mommy. I'm just telling her she's wrong.
You can't be mean to mommy.
That's not cute.
That's rude. She's incredibly cute. Just because things aren't going your way, don't say weird things.
Why do I have to be told this about my own child? We share blood, so she should recognize me as her dad. Just sharing blood doesn't make you instantly a parent and child. It takes time. It would be worrying if she just followed someone who suddenly said they were her dad.
Exactly. How can you say Anna isn't adorable? She's trying so hard to protect her mom. Without her, we wouldn't have such cuteness. It's unbelievable.
Come on, Karen, even you?
I'm a fan of Anna. I'm upset because you insulted my favorite.
Wait. We need to talk about something important. There's no important talk to be had. We just met here. All right, I'll get straight to it. Anna is my kid, so half of what she earns should be mine. Give me half of her earnings.
What?
Not what. It's a reasonable request. Without my genes, she wouldn't exist. I deserve a cut as a producer.
What are you talking about?
You're too sudden. Anna's income is for her. We've decided to use it for her. You just want to keep all her earnings for yourself.
I'm not thinking that at all.
Yeah, right. I have the right to it.
Jack kept insisting on getting half of Anna's income. But Anna's earnings should be used for her, not for Jack, who she just met. Stop it! You're scaring Anna. So what if she's scared? Kids get scared all the time, it's no big deal. What are you saying? You should earn your own money. It's not that easy.
Imagine how much I could get if I had half of Anna's earnings. We could live off it. Jack, what are you saying? You claim to be a father, but all you're doing is trying to take a small child's money. Stop it, it's embarrassing. What's embarrassing about it? You said she's a gold mine. I said that, but don't scare Anna. Shut up.
Jack suddenly shouted, causing Anna to cry.
She's crying. Sorry, Anna. You're the worst, Jack. Making such a small child cry. You say you're her father, but you don't consider her feelings at all. If you really are her father, think about her feelings. Now's not the time to think about her feelings. Our future is at stake. What kind of person are you? I don't want to know you anymore.
With that, Jack's girlfriend ran off and Jack chased after her. A week later, Jack called. Seeing Jack on the caller ID after 5 years, it made me regret not blocking him.
Thanks for the other day. Did you make up with your girlfriend? To think she's a fan of Anna, what a small world. That woman doesn't matter. Don't matter? You said you were going to marry her. I changed my mind. We broke up. That's quite a turnaround. You said you'd have a baby soon and become a dad. Yeah. When I said I should get money as her dad, she said I was crazy and left. Such a stubborn woman. That's unfortunate. I don't care about her. I have Anna. I want to be a father to her and be by her side. She doesn't need you. I'm here for her. You're not enough. You don't understand many things. I can protect her. She's lived for years without knowing you. Telling her you're her dad will confuse her. She'll get used to it. Anyway, you're not enough, so I'll raise her. Give me your address, we'll live together. What? We're divorced, we're strangers. Why would we live together? That doesn't matter. We're parents to Anna. We can't live together. Then give me Anna. Don't joke around. Anna is not a thing. I won't just hand her over because you say so. You've been raising her for 4 years. Now it's my turn. I refuse. She is my child.
Jack said many things, but when I denied and rejected his demands, he hung up, irritated. I thought he would give up, but he didn't. He kept showing up around Anna, trying to implant in her that he was her dad. Unable to bear this repeated behavior, I contacted him to stop.
Stop it. What's all this about? Why are you showing up in front of Anna? Because I'm her father. It's natural for a father to want to see his daughter. Even a mother can't interfere with that. It's troubling for her to be suddenly told you're her dad.
It's only troubling for you.
Anna isn't bothered. It's affecting her work. How's that? She gets scared and can't act when she sees you. Is that so? Yes, it is. We've been divorced for 4 years. Suddenly saying you're her dad is confusing. I shouldn't have introduced you to. She'll understand eventually. She's so famous. Anyway, Anna is my child, so I can do whatever I want with her. Wait. What do you mean by whatever you want? Don't know. Haven't thought about it. You're not thinking of her as a money tree, are you? Maybe. But one thing's for sure, I won't let you have her all to yourself. I'm not keeping her to myself. No parent turns their child's talent into money. Unfortunately, you have one here. She has a talent that can make money. Why not use it? It'll bring money to Anna and raise her fame. If you keep thinking like that, I'll go to the police. Try it if you can. What? Wait, Jack.
Jack left a meaningful remark and hung up. I felt a dark cloud looming. Jack must be planning something terrible. If my fears are correct, there's no telling what he might do. Anxiety bred more anxiety, and feeling that I couldn't leave things as they were, I tried calling Jack again, but I couldn't get through to him. A few days later, I had some errands, so I left Anna with her manager and went on my own. However, during that time, Jack took the opportunity to take Anna away.
Hey, it's an urgent matter. Molly, what happened? Anna. Anna was taken away by her dad, Jack. What? I'm sorry. I only took my eyes off her for a moment, and he took her from inside the car. I've already contacted the police, but I thought I should let you know first. Where are you right now? I'm coming immediately. We're at the parking lot in front of the TV station. All right.
As soon as I was told, I jumped into my car, my heart pounding faster and my hands sweating. I imagined Anna must be crying and scared by now. With Jack having changed so much, it's unpredictable what he might do. Yet, if he really sees her as a money tree, he might not physically harm her. But even if she's physically unharmed, emotional trauma is still damaged. Praying for her safety, I drove as fast as I could to the parking lot. When I arrived, I saw Morimoto's familiar car parked there.
Where's Anna?
Sorry, no word from the police yet. They've issued an emergency alert for kidnapping.
Oh no!
Stay strong. Everything will be okay. Anna, please, God, save her. Praying was all I could do. However, the situation resolved quickly. My call for information on social media mobilized many fans, leading to a breakthrough. This was because I appealed for information on social media, mobilizing many fans. Among them was Jack's girlfriend, who shared details about the car he was using and even published his photo. This led to a rapid exchange of information on social media, and soon the police were aware of Jack's whereabouts. People on social media took action, and Jack was quickly apprehended. Anna safely returned to my arms. Afterward, Jack was arrested for the kidnapping of a minor. But fearing a real sentence, Jack hired a lawyer, leading to a settlement offer. Due to Anna's popularity, our lawyer advised that it would be better to settle. I wasn't keen on it, but the agency insisted, concerned about Anna's popularity if her real father was sent to prison. Despite my reluctance, I accepted the settlement, following the agency's advice. But then, Jack filed for a custody change, attempting to gain parental rights. However, his request was denied, as there were no issues with Anna's current living conditions, and it was clear that Jack was interested in her income as a child actor. That was the last straw. I decided to demand child support, which had been kept silent until then. Despite Jack complaining about why he had to pay when we were already making good money, when threatened with legal action, he agreed to pay in full. The situation didn't end there. Jack's foolish actions caused an uproar online, and soon Anna's fans became involved. His identity was exposed, along with his face and personal information. The news spread like wildfire, leading to a frenzy. His employer, affected by the negative publicity, fired him. Now, cut off from any income, Jack lives a reclusive life indoors. As for us, the online commotion only increased Anna's popularity. Fans declared they had protected her through their actions. Today, Anna's smile continues to brighten the world.
Huh? The garage shutter, which is usually closed, was oddly open. No way. My hand trembled, making the umbrella I was holding quiver. I could feel my heart pounding. As I got close to the car, I realized it clearly. There wasn't just a woman in the car, but a man too. And they were, astonishingly, in the midst of an affair. Oh my. I almost screamed from the shop, but bit my lower lip to endure it. I can't let them know I'm here. I need to get evidence. The man who came out of the car was undoubtedly my husband, Mike. Come on, the car's too cramped. Let's do it outside next time, right? Mike's cheerful voice made my skin crawl. No way, someone might see. Close the shutter. Yeah, it's fine. The car will hide us. The remote is too far. Come here, Sarah, you're the best. This is unbearable. I can't stay here. But if I leave now, what about the evidence? Struggling with nausea, I tried to think. That's it. I quickly grabbed clothes from the ground and a remote from the wall and left the garage. You two, so ardently engaged like monkeys, deserve to be left just as you are, with nothing on, fitting for your behavior. May you two stay there happily together forever. I've never worked with a woman before. Are you sure you're up for it? I can't deal with complaints or tears. The words from the client, said without malice, were a joke. I'm Emily Johnson, 34 years old. I've been in sales for over a decade. This is nothing new to me. I've got this. Trust me. I smiled at the client, Mr. Smith, who then casually began to pack up his documents. Although I'm used to it, I still felt uneasy. If anything comes up before our next meeting, feel free to contact me. As I stood up, hiding my inner turmoil, Mr. Smith came over and patted my shoulder, then stroked my back. Sure, I'll call you. He looks down on me because I'm a woman, yet acts with ulterior motives because I'm a woman. As I tried to distance myself from his hand, another man's voice rang out. Hey Smith, what are you doing? That's too familiar. Startled, Mr. Smith stepped back. Wilson, this isn't what it looks like. Ignoring Mr. Smith's excuse, the man apologized to me. I'm sorry about Smith. I'll have a word with him. Or, if you prefer, I can assign someone else to handle this. The man, likely Mr. Smith's boss, flashed a more polished sales smile. A few months later, I would end up marrying this man. The man's name is Mike Wilson. He's 40 years old, 6 years older than me. At our first meeting, I was impressed by his considerate nature, and afterward, Mike continued to show his smart handling of things. Gradually, we were drawn to each other, and a month ago, we got married. Mike was indeed handsome when we first met. It was surprising that he had never been married until the age of 40. But maybe there's a reason for someone remaining single until that age. I sighed as I looked at our new home. Let's go back to before we got married. Mike was a frugal person. I earn a decent amount, but there's no need to waste money. When I asked about the wedding, Mike looked puzzled and said, whether to have a ceremony or not is a personal choice. There are various values, but it's important to choose words carefully when conveying those values. I didn't necessarily want a big wedding, but being treated as an unnecessary expense is unsettling. With mixed feelings, I pressed on with another question. So, what about our new home? Shall we go house hunting this weekend? Both Mike and I were living with our parents. Therefore, moving into one of our apartments wasn't an option. We needed to decide on our post-marriage living arrangements. Mike vaguely suggested living together, but I firmly refused. Due to my job, I often come home late at night. I didn't want to inconvenience my in-laws with my different schedule. So, renting seemed reasonable. How about looking for a 2-bedroom apartment? To my surprise, Mike objected. An apartment? He looked dissatisfied. Could he still be hoping for us to live together? I mentioned before, living with your parents is difficult. No, it's not that. I've only ever lived in a house. Mike interrupted. I lived alone during college and moved back home when I started working. Mike, on the other hand, commuted from home during college and started working right after, so he never lived alone. Are you worried about the space? For now, we don't have kids, so an apartment should be enough. It's not about the space. I just don't like the idea, you know? Size and age don't matter, but I'd prefer a house. Okay, got it. Let's look for one. Thus, due to his inexplicable insistence, we moved into this house. Today, our home becomes a 50-year-old rental house. It's older than my parents' house, but is, as desired, the standalone house. I would have preferred something newer, but couldn't convince frugal Mike. Well, there's a saying, any house becomes a home when you live in it. Yeah, that's true. It's old, but the rent is cheap, and it might be sensible for the future. But the rent wasn't the deciding factor. I'm gonna step out for a bit, Mike said, looking restless. He headed to the garage next to the house. The garage, added to the old house, was modern and out of place. It had an electric shutter operated by a remote. Following Mike, I saw him admiring something with fascination. How beautiful it is. What he was admiring was a super luxury car, delivered just a few days ago. I'm not knowledgeable about cars, so I don't really understand its value, but it's extremely expensive, including all expenses. It costs about $500,000. When I heard that amount, I was so shocked that time seemed to stop. That's enough to buy a house. If that's the case, we should have bought a house as you wanted. No, I don't care about houses. Don't you get it? It's a man's dream, a man's dream. I don't want him to brush off such a huge amount of $500,000 as just a man's dream. If this was from Mike's savings before we got married, I wouldn't say anything. But unbelievably, he bought it on a loan. Moreover, he thought I would oppose it if he consulted me beforehand, so he only told me afterward. Are you sure this is okay? You know, we might need more money in the future. It's okay, it's okay. After all, we're married now. What? Isn't it normal to stop wasteful spending, especially after getting married? Mike, looking at his own reflection in the car's body, didn't even glance at me as he said, "After all, from now on, Emily will learn and manage the living expenses, right? Then I can use all my salary for the loan." What? When I was living at home, my mom managed my salary, and I couldn't use it freely. Now, I can spend it however I want. I had heard a bit about his mother managing Mike's money. I thought it was just overprotectiveness and didn't pay much attention, but now I see his sense of money is unique. He doesn't spend on living spaces he's not interested in, but spends generously on cars he loves. In a way, it's honest and the right way to spend money. But still, I can't accept being relied upon like this. Are you saying I should support you? That's definitely not possible. We might want kids in the future. No, what are you talking about? I'm already 40, and you're 34, right? It's too late to think about having kids. Don't start having strange expectations now. Just give me the money instead. But you said you wanted kids too, and now it's all about the car. If it happens, we'll raise them, no choice. Oh, and stop saying support, okay? I'm working hard too. Mike makes excuses, but if he pours his salary into the car and I have to cover living expenses, it's like I'm supporting him. When I fell silent, perhaps realizing something was wrong, Mike soothingly stroked my head. Are you jealous of the car? That's cute. Don't worry, I'm all about Emily. I love you so much. If we're talking about people, Emily, you're the best in the world. I knew he was trying to charm me, but his ridiculous words made me laugh, and I couldn't say anything more. This is quite a situation for a newlywed. During a break at work, listening to my venting with a wry smile was Ms. Young, the same age as Mike. She's a superwoman, appreciated for her work, and promoted exceptionally fast. Her empathetic approach to consulting earns her everyone's trust. I thought he was a man of strong preferences, but I never imagined he'd be so self-centered. My ex-husband was the same. Always put himself first, never listened to what I had to say. Exactly. We haven't even unpacked from moving yet, and he's always sneaking off to the garage. Well, I ended up divorcing because he never changed. But Emily, you're still in the honeymoon phase. Things might change, you know. Ms. Young then pulled out a small bag of chocolates and placed it in front of me. Eat something sweet and refresh yourself. You don't have to force yourself to accept your husband. But why not try to understand him better? Of course, joining the divorcee club is always an option too. As I ate the chocolate, I laughed with Ms. Young. Indeed, I never showed much interest in cars, never really tried to learn about them. Maybe that attitude came across when Mike talked about cars. Since I might get off work early today, maybe I'll make Mike's favorite Chinese food and wait for him. After finishing shopping at the supermarket, I quickly headed home. All right, what should I start with? I packed the groceries into the fridge and flipped through a recipe book. Lately, I've been so busy with daily chores that I haven't had the chance to cook anything elaborate. As I was pondering what to cook, I faintly heard a woman's voice from somewhere. I strained my ears towards the open window, and although the voice was intermittent, I could definitely hear something. The houses around here are spaced out, not close together. It's not someone from the neighborhood. The intermittently audible voice made me uneasy, so I grabbed an umbrella and my phone, which were near the entrance, just in case, and quietly headed towards the source of the voice. The voice seemed to be coming from the garage. Huh? The garage shutter, which is usually closed, was oddly open. Mike doesn't use that super luxury car for commuting. He's afraid of getting it scratched, and apparently, it's also hard to drive. Therefore, the shutter is always closed. Mike should be opening it every day after returning home with the remote control. He even had me install a security camera in the garage for safety. It's strange that such a heavily secured garage is open. What if it's a female thief? If she's after the car, I need to protect it. It's Mike's precious car, after all. I gripped the umbrella tightly in my hand. It seems the female thief is already in the car. Is she struggling to start the engine? The car was shaking enough for me to notice from a distance. I prepared my phone to call 911 at any moment and slowly approached the car, crouching low. I hid right beside the window. That's when I finally realized I was making a huge mistake. No way. My hand trembled, making the umbrella quiver. I could feel my heart pounding. As I got close, I clearly understood. There wasn't just a woman in the car, but a man too. And they were, astonishingly, in the midst of an affair. Who could it be? It's obvious. No one would use someone else's car in their garage for such acts. Mike was having an affair. Oh my. I almost screamed from the shop, but bit my lower lip to endure it. I can't let them know I'm here. I need to get evidence. I have my phone. I could record a video, but how? My voice is muffled, and it's hard to film inside the car without being noticed. My emotions are a mess, and tears are overflowing without understanding why. I know I need to do something, but I can't move. Suddenly, the car's shaking and the voices stopped. Phew! It's hot! Along with the voice, the rear seat door on the opposite side of where I am opened. And sure enough, it was Mike who came out. I couldn't see him, but I recognized his voice. A woman also seemed to come out a bit later. Wait, I'm not even dressed yet. And Mike, you're only wearing a shirt and no pants. Crazy! The woman giggled. I don't recognize her voice. Well, there's no need to wear them yet. Look, the car's cramped. So how about outside next time, right? Mike's cheerful voice made my skin crawl. No way, someone might see us. Close the shutter. Yeah, it's fine. The car will hide us. The remote is too far. Come here, Sarah, you're the best. I've heard these lines before, and it pained my heart. He said them to anyone. I foolishly believed. Soon the woman, Sarah, didn't seem to mind either, and they started making disturbing noises again. Don't they have any shame, potentially being seen by someone outside? I just put these on. It's okay, whether he undressed her or she did it herself. Clothes flew overhead and landed right in front of me, hiding in the shadow of the car. I can't take it anymore. I can't stay here. But if I leave now, what about the evidence? In a semi-panic, I noticed something in the upper corner of the garage. That's right. With that, I should be able to get evidence without being here. With a plan in mind, my mind calmed, and I became cool-headed. They were too absorbed in their actions to notice me. I easily made it to the garage exit. That's it. I quickly grabbed the clothes on the ground and the remote on the wall and left the garage. Then, everything happened fast. I packed only the essential belongings into the trunk. I'm not coming back to this house. 10 minutes later, I was at my office. To save the evidence. It's possible with a phone, but a computer feels more secure. There's a computer at home, but staying there risked running into them. I have my personal computer at the office. I'll just take that and maybe go to some cafe. I hurried to my desk, grabbed my laptop, and was about to head to the door when someone grabbed my shoulder. Hey, Emily, are you okay? I turned around to see Ms. Young standing there, her eyebrows furrowed and a puzzled look on her face. I meant to say good evening, but I couldn't speak properly. Your face is pale. Are you okay? What happened? Ms. Young just stared at me silently. Looking into her eyes, I started crying again. As the tears flowed, I felt my strength draining. Ms. Young, Mike, he's cheating on me. I clung to Ms. Young like a child. Cheating? What? Ms. Young's sharp eyes widened, and she jerked her chin forward in anger. Then she covered my head with her jacket. Ms. Young, there are still a few people around. Use this to cover yourself, okay? Feeling like a suspect on the news, we hurried out of the office. Let's go to my place for now. But I feel bad. She must be tired after work. The thought of suddenly imposing on my boss's home made me hesitate, but that feeling vanished instantly. Just a while ago, I had witnessed such a shocking scene. To me, Ms. Young was a pillar of strength. Thank you. Ms. Young's apartment was just a few minutes' walk from the office. True to her capable nature, her place had a calm and neat atmosphere. So, what do you need the laptop for? Is the cheating confirmed, not just a suspicion? Ms. Young asked as she handed me a steaming cup of coffee. Well, actually, I hesitated a bit, then told her everything. Unbelievable. How could he? Ms. Young trembled with anger after hearing it all. So, what are you going to do now? I can't deal with him anymore, not just as a husband, but even as a person. I'm thinking of moving towards a divorce. It's pretty severe. You should get as much alimony as you can. Do you think you can get evidence? I can refer a lawyer if you need one. Thank you. About that, I need this for. I placed my personal laptop I had brought from the office on the table. After a few minutes of operating it, I turned the screen towards Ms. Young. Your husband and the other woman? Yes. This is a recording. I never thought that the surveillance camera for the luxury car would come in handy here. It's remotely operable, and the data is stored on the cloud, meaning everything from that time is recorded, from them entering the car to their monkey-like antics. It's all here. This is enough evidence for adultery. I'm relieved. By the way, can you view this in real time? What are those monkeys doing now? Surely they must be gone by now. Actually, I took out the remote control from my bag and showed it to her. What's that? It's for the electric shutter. I closed it when I left. In a rush of blood to the head, I had closed the shutter after getting ready to leave the house. And as an afterthought, I threw the clothes I picked up in front of the shutter. It was a rash action done impulsively. But one thing is for sure. Right now, those two are locked in the garage in a disgraceful state. You go, girl. That's hilarious. Ms. Young burst out laughing, slapping her thigh. I don't think they've noticed me yet, so they must be panicking by now. Checking the camera, it seemed they noticed just before the shutter completely closed. But they couldn't escape in time. The camera showed the two arguing miserably. Seeing this, Ms. Young laughed even louder. Her laughter made me smile too. That's when it happened. My phone started ringing. The caller was Mike. I didn't want to answer, but I reflexively pressed the button. There's no avoiding it now. I reluctantly answered the call. Hello? Oh, Emily, you still at work? He was trying to sound calm, but I could hear a slight tremble in Mike's voice. Yeah, I'm with Ms. Young. What's up? Oh, yeah. The garage shutter seems to have malfunctioned. I'm locked in, and I can't find the remote. It wasn't a malfunction. I had impulsively closed it. The remote is right here with me. Well, that's unfortunate. Maybe you should contact a service company. They should be able to open it quickly. No, that's okay. Yeah, it would be a waste of money, you know. Yeah, I'll think of something else. Mike quickly denied it. Of course, he would. If the service company comes, they can easily open the shutter, but the two of them inside are probably not in a presentable state. So, coming back home right now is... Sorry, I can't. Hey, your husband is in trouble here. Just dismissing it like that. Are you even a wife? I don't want to be lectured by someone who's trapped with his mistress. There's no helping it. Oh, why don't I make the call? No, that's not what I'm... damn it. Mike sounded frustrated. He must be struggling to explain the situation without giving himself away. What's wrong? You're acting strange. I'm going to hang up now. Wait, Emily, I pretended not to hear and hung up the phone, but it immediately rang again. As I was wondering what to do, Ms. Young smiled at me. Your husband must be trying to get you to open it for him. She's probably right. If they ask a service company, their embarrassing state would be exposed. But if I call an M there, they could hide in the car, avoiding any shameful exposure. Their affair would also be somewhat concealed. The phone calls are persistent. Here's an idea. Emily, why don't you go on an overseas business trip? What? Ms. Young began to explain smoothly. It seemed sudden, but she had apparently been considering assigning this work to me for a while. The trip itself was planned for about a week, but it might be extended. She was going to go herself, thinking it would be too much to ask of a newlywed. But if you're getting a divorce, it's perfect. Just tell your husband you have to go on a business trip. But with my current state of mind, working, that's exactly why you should do it. You'll feel surprisingly refreshed if you focus on work instead of stewing in your thoughts. Plus, your husband will keep calling until you come home. You don't want to see him right now, do you? Indeed, just the thought of being in the same space as Mike is repulsive to me now. And I'm getting fed up with the constant ringing of my phone. Really? I feel like I'm mixing personal issues with work. Don't worry about it. It's the other way around. I'm just taking advantage of your personal situation. Despite my hesitation, Ms. Young insisted, and I ended up going on an overseas business trip. I sent Mike a message through our messaging app. I have an urgent business trip and won't be back for a week. It's overseas, so I'll be limiting my communication. And then I left for the trip. Although I went abroad with some apprehension, Ms. Young's briefing and materials were perfect, and the work went smoothly as I had been involved with the project previously. It seemed I was well received at the destination, and I had a fulfilling private life there, making the week fly by. I stayed in daily contact with Ms. Young, exchanging various information. I remembered that before getting married, one of my goals was to live and work abroad, although it was only for a limited time. It felt like my dream had come true. Once everything with Mike was settled, I decided to return. When I got back to the US, I immediately took action. I had no intention of returning to that house. Before the trip, Ms. Young and I had identified a property, and I moved there straight from the airport. I ignored all of Mike's messages during this time. I decided it was better to wait until I was fully prepared. About a week after moving into my new apartment, I received a call from an unknown number. Maybe it was a work contact I forgot to save. I casually answered the phone. Hello? Emily? Finally, you answered. The relieved voice on the other end was still barely my husband, Mike. Mike, why? Why aren't you answering? Going silent for so long, are you cheating? Was the business trip a lie? What is he talking about? That's his story. How much I suffered because of those two. I was about to retort, but I managed to hold back. Anyway, come back home. There's something important to talk about. Silent, I listened as Mike abruptly hung up. The time for the final showdown had come. I took a deep breath and visited that detestable house for the first time in weeks. You finally came back. As I stood at the entrance, the door opened, and there was Mike, arms crossed, standing upright. I didn't come back to stay, I came to talk. You said there was something important. I have something I want to say to. Come in then. Mike gestured with his chin for me to come in, then strode ahead into the house. Following behind, I walked into the living room, and immediately, a person caught my eye. Oh? No mistake about it. There on the sofa sat Sarah. She waved her hand at me when our eyes met. Glaring at Mike, I turned my gaze away from him as he spoke. She's a colleague from work. She's been helping out a lot while you were gone. Just a colleague, coming over to the house. Enough. You don't have the right to question me. Mike sighed heavily and slammed a paper onto the table. I stared at it intently. Do you know what this is? It's a divorce paper. A selfish wife who doesn't care about her family doesn't suit me. Mike yelled, trying to look decisive. I chuckled slightly and reached into my bag. Coincidentally, we were thinking the same thing. What? Mimicking Mike from earlier, I slapped my own already filled out divorce papers onto the table. Why? Because I wanted a divorce. You too, right? That's true, but he must have thought I would cry and cling to him. But instead, he looked shocked. Shall we proceed? About the alimony. Mike looked up, startled. Yeah, that's important. We need to discuss that thoroughly. I don't know the going rates, so I asked a lawyer. He said about $40,000 would be fair. What? That much? Is that okay? Mike's face lit up. Sarah also looked delighted. $40,000 each to Sarah and you. So that's $80,000 in total. We did it, Sarah. You're so generous. I watched them hold hands and jump around. Then I said quietly, puzzled, why are you so happy? Are you glad to be paying alimony? They stopped and stared at me with wide eyes. You misunderstood, right? You're saying we're the ones paying alimony. Of course. Why would I pay it? I smiled, and Mike's face turned red as he shouted, it's your fault, because you selfishly left the house. I started thinking about divorce. And yet, why should we? Why? Don't you have any idea? I glared at them, and both Mike and Sarah visibly panicked. Well, maybe I was too busy to pay attention to you. Such a shameless response. Sure, you must have been busy, meeting each other every week for secret dates. Secret dates? We never did that. His voice cracked with too much agitation. Always meeting on weekdays, even in our own house. How thrifty of you. Even high schoolers spend a bit more. You were even buying lunch from convenience stores. Why not spend a little more on her? Mike turned beach red, his mouth opening and closing without words. He wanted to retort, but he couldn't. I was saving for our future with Sarah. I like being frugal. That was his best response. I've wanted to say this for a while, but being frugal and being cheap are different. Your frugality isn't saving. It's just being a nuisance to others. What did you say? Mike started to raise his arm in anger, but stopped when he saw the person who appeared behind me. Who's that? It was Ms. Young, who had come to back me up. There's a reason I asked Ms. Young to come. You know her, right, Sarah? Sarah, pale-faced, looked at Ms. Young. Sarah quickly prostrated herself before Ms. Young. Please don't tell my mom. Your mom? Mike looked at Sarah, dumbfounded. I answered for the silent Sarah. Sarah is still a college student. She lives near Ms. Young. Yes, initially, Ms. Young hadn't recognized her from the camera footage, but Ms. Young and Sarah actually knew each other. Sarah's family was well known in the neighborhood for being very strict. Becoming involved with a married man was absolutely unthinkable. They even forbade her from dating. A college student? No way. She told me she was a working adult. What? Didn't you just say she was your colleague? What's going on? Mike looked around nervously, not answering. I'm sorry. Even if I don't say anything, a lawyer will contact you. You can't afford to pay alimony yet, right? So someone else will have to. Sarah remained bowed, trembling. Stop it, please. I was grounded for just dating a classmate. If they find out I was with a married man, I might never be allowed out again. Why did she choose Mike, knowing the risk? Watching them, I felt disgusted. Then Mike weakly knelt beside Sarah. Wait, Sarah's unemployed. Stop saying it like that. I'm a college student. That's unemployed. Damn it. How could you do this to me? I need a working wife. The loans, the loans. What? What are you saying, you deadbeat? Don't rely on someone else's income. Mike, on the verge of a breakdown, and Sarah, infuriated. Ms. Young muttered, birds of a feather, a perfect match. It was pointless to watch them argue. Ms. Young and I exchanged looks and were about to leave the room. Then Mike, frantic, grabbed my arm. Wait for me. I was deceived. I haven't been cheating. Emily, you're the best. Believe me. Is that all he can say, this man? I stared intently at Mike. His face was a mess with tears, his eyes bloodshot, and all he could utter were words of self-preservation, and most of those words were lies. I'm so glad I didn't end up spending my life with him. Here, take this back. Why do you have that remote? Weren't the service guys surprised? You should learn from this and stop using the garage for, I saw everything. And don't use such an expensive car as a hotel substitute. Cars are meant to be driven. If you're going to get in, sit in the driver's seat. Don't get it mixed up. Finally understanding, Mike's face drained of color, and he slumped down to the floor. As Ms. Young laughed and patted me on the back, I left the house. Afterward, the divorce went through without a hitch. Sarah's parents paid the alimony, which was a relief. Sarah herself was called back home and can hardly go out now. After this incident, she's been stripped of her makeup, not allowed to dye her hair, and has been forced to study every day. Ms. Young told me she might soon be married off to someone her parents choose. It might be old-fashioned, but maybe that's for the best for Sarah. As for Mike, after the divorce, news of his affair with a college student spread rapidly at work. He himself claimed to be a devoted husband at work, so the backlash from this incident was tremendous. Moreover, the person he was involved with was a college student. His credibility at work and with clients plummeted. Now, he's ostracized both inside and outside of work. Mike continues to work, mainly to pay off the loan for his luxury car. However, considering his situation, it's widely rumored that it's only a matter of time before he's fired, as he's seen as a liability to the company. I hear about their endings, but honestly, I'm not much interested. I have my own life to focus on. A year after the divorce, I quit my job. Now, I'm working abroad, fulfilling my dream, in a dreamlike place, for a dreamlike person. Hey, Emily, why are you grinning? Oh, nothing. Just thinking about how to surpass Ms. Young. How can I do that? Recently, Ms. Young started her own business and asked me to join her abroad. I hadn't expected it to be overseas, but I immediately said yes. My dream has come true, but now I have a new one. To become like Ms. Young, to surpass her one day, and to repay all the kindness she's shown me. Ms. Young has given me so much, both in my personal and professional life. I don't know when I'll achieve this dream, but I'm determined to make it happen. Good luck with that in your lifetime. Ms. Young says with a knowing smile, and I vow to myself to make it true.